What is up, everybody? Welcome to NFTs in the Arena. You're with your hosts, Mike and John. John, how are you today, brother?
What's up, Mikey? What's happening, everybody? I'm
Good.
brilliant, Tim.
Fantastic, fantastic. So on the screen, we have a very special guest. It's a friend of ours and someone that Jonathan has basically lived his whole life with. Their brothers in arms. I've known Chris for many, many years since high school. But the interesting with Chris is Chris Nyawo from South Africa, currently residing in Shanghai, China. Chris, welcome. How are you, my man?
Thank you, Mike. I'm great, my man. It's good to see you again. I mean, it's been a long time, bro. And me and John, we were speaking about you, quite a lot. You inspire us, bro. You inspire a lot more people. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you, fellas. Thank you, John. Thank you to me, it's an honor, gents, to be in the same conversation with you guys. It's always been an honor.
No, I appreciate that, Chris. And I think today the intention of you being here is, and I suppose so the audience knows. So Chris is just no ordinary soul. He's an amazing guy. He's actually living in Shanghai, China for the last few years now, helping educate the younger generation there, but more so showing a true passion in cryptocurrency, where Chris is heavily invested in the sense of knowing and having the finger on the pulse of what is maybe going to be booming outside of what the norm is. And I think he's very interested in it, has a lot of information, insights on the likes of Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and Hex. And that's the kind of things we're going to get into today, because a lot of our audience perhaps knows about NFTs, but not really knows about cryptocurrency. And Chris, this is the way I want to start the conversation. So starting off now, tell us about how your experience is in Shanghai, China, and how it is actually with regards to getting involved in the crypto space, because I would imagine there's some regulations and restrictions in the country.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when I first got here. I thought it was going to be because I was into Bitcoin before I arrived. And so I was a little bit hesitant on how to sort of get involved, because I thought, geez, it's China, bro. I mean, they banned Bitcoin how many times? So now the last thing I want to do is get kicked out because, I'm here trying to make money off Bitcoin. But surprisingly, it's actually very simple to get involved in Bitcoin. I make purchases almost every week. At one point, it was like daily. And it's very seamless. WeChat, which is owned by Tencent, which is very closely related to the government, they know exactly what's happening. So all the transactions are processed. The government knows exactly when I'm buying, exactly when I'm selling. And I've never had any encounters with the police or any regulator saying, hey, what's going on here? When I arrived in Shanghai, I started researching, because I wanted to make sure that I'm on the right books. And funny enough, the Shenzhen High Court actually made a declaration saying that Bitcoin should be Bitcoin is decriminalized. So decriminalized Bitcoin, and then later that year in 2018, the Hangzhou Internet Court, and I never knew there was an Internet Court, but the Hangzhou Internet Court said that Bitcoin should be a protected asset. So I was like, wow, man, I mean, come on. Yeah, the courts are saying such good things about it, so it gave me a lot of confidence to just continue purchasing. And so surprisingly, regulation is actually quite positive, even though, we've seen some negative things about mining and all of that.
Yeah, no, I think, sorry, John, that's a fascinating story, but I'll obviously pass on to you now. So I think what I also would like from you, John, because you're obviously quite well versed in the space, is like kind of now, what would people that are not involved in the space that have not bought these cryptocurrencies, not only the Bitcoins and the Ethereums and the likes, but like the Pulse chains and the Hex, maybe take us through that and what you think is worthwhile for the listeners to actually hear.
Well, look, like we all know, and perhaps some don't, we've heard the term do your own research. So I think that's paramount to understanding the space. not necessarily what direction to use, because that's kind of aligned with who you are following and who are you being virtually mentored by in this space. So that's very important. So ultimately, it's about aligning yourself with YouTube channels that are telling, or at least speaking the truth most often than not, and then finding something that aligns with you, perhaps virtuously, or perhaps just as a passion project. Because there's a lot of aspects to crypto. There's leaders in the space that want to change the world. There's people that want to make a lot of money, and there's people that are just solving basic solution problems at the moment. So yeah, it's ultimately aligning yourself with the right people, and then what resonates with you as a person.
Chris, what is your sentiment on that? Like, tell us about your way of what, like, why are you investing in particular coins, in particular blockchains? Like, what is your train of thought? What is your rationale? Take us through some of the ones you invested in and help educate our audience on why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. So for me, of course, Bitcoin was my entry point. But when I choose a particular blockchain, I think about sort of like, is there longevity, first of all, because I want to be in crypto for forever. Like, it's just one of the assets that I sort of just want to hold forever, because, it's very easy to sort of, when you die, just leave the keys in a will and leave it to the next generation. So when I choose a blockchain, I'm thinking about longevity. I'm thinking about the community. Is the community, are they thinking logically? Because there's a lot of communities that are very emotional, and I get it. But
let's focus on that. So why, Chris, let's focus on that. What do you mean by like people getting emotional? Tell us about these communities. How are these communities formed? Like, what kind of communities are you forming a part of, or what kind of communities do you post?
yeah, so when I see particular communities get emotional, what I see is the hype factor being sort of the dominant sort of image of the crypto, rather than the logical community who actually understand the technology. The emotional community is about gains generally. It's like how much money can we make? So that community generally wants to sell their coins. And I mean, I think everybody should make money. But if everybody sells, then it's basically going to go to zero. So which is not a bad opportunity for some people who want to arbitrage. But if you have a logical community, some whales then start to have some kind of responsibility. They can pull their coins and, make the coin drop. But then they actually start to look at the whole community as a whole and say, hang on, if I do that, I'm actually going to cripple the community. So let me actually withdraw my profits responsibly. And so, that's where longevity comes in. And, that's why I invest in particular projects that are focused on sort of a long-term play within the contract. And so, I don't condemn communities that are emotional. Generally you'll see this with meme coins. It's about the mania. And right now, I think we've entered a mini meme season. We can see some of these coins just popping. Like, I mean, I don't know if we can mention coins, but one of the coins.
Oh, okay, so we dropped.
Yeah. Shiba's rocking it right now.
Shiba's rocking, bro. And that community is pretty emotional a lot of the times, even though they do have some good. They've got a significant roadmap. But the like community, like those guys are not really as sophisticated as, let's say, Hex. I mean, the Hex community, I mean, those guys are educated. Those guys are going around educating people And they do also have a sense of mania in them, but not like the Shiba Inu. So Shiba Inu's pumping hard right now. It's very exciting, and that excitement is sort of like the driving engine. That's like the thing that is being marketed. So I think it's good. I think both, there's a space for both. There's a place for both. But I like to sort of be able to identify that difference. Whereas Hex, these guys are focusing on locking coins up for long periods of time. We've seen like even the founder, Richard Hart, announced that currently we have an average of 7-year lock period within everybody who's staking their coins, which is pretty incredible. But I think it's very underappreciated because people think, oh, okay, 7 years, so what? That's a big deal. If you think about it as an average, that means that people are locking their coins up for way more, and it's just averaging out to 7 years. So,
It was about
with that kind of logical,
about a year ago.
yeah, exactly. It was even 5, and so yeah.
Let's stop here because now I'm gonna segue into Jono, because what you've touched on now is like it's super interesting with the emotional side, as effectively speaking to human behavior, the innate characteristic and behavior of the human when they are exposed to various experiences, whether it's stressed out, whether it's opportunity to make money, life, death, those kind of situations. People act differently, and obviously it's the same thing now with investing in crypto, how reactive people are. And John, if you recall last week, we spoke about how if an athlete or if a particular person creates an NFT collection and have this huge following, and by virtue of what they do in society, the social thing that can compromise their image, like with Mike Tyson or Tiger Woods in the past, that's going to have negative impact on the value of the asset of the NFT. So now what Chris was speaking about now with Shiba, people are very reactive and emotional. How do you see that being taken forward into crypto and other NFT collections? What is your whole take on that?
Well, look, the Shiba, like I got into Shiba last year, Mayish, and from what I've found from, for instance, that community, is that it was quite predicated on making gains and making a lot of people in third world countries rich, which is amazing. And like Chris mentioned, the roadmaps, it's quite significant. But outside of that aspect, it did wonders for many people. Obviously, with that being said, people jumped on and sold when it reached the top and counteracted that for people who bought the top, for instance, like I did. I bought the top, so I'm down on Shiba, but that's just the journey. I understand if it's something I hold for the long term, which I'm going to, because most of my Shiba's in stake, which earns me bone, and bone I think is going to be quite a strong asset in the future. So yeah, I do believe that some cryptocurrencies are gonna bring people in for the gains, and this is gonna lead to either one, people being disappointed, or two, they'll be quite content. But nonetheless, it's speculative, and always in this space to avoid speculation is to hold long term, despite the emotions. So if we can actually get into educating people to hold, and hence why Hex is such a great asset, is because it drives people to actually stake and lock up their assets for long term. So ultimately investing in time, which is essentially quite a very interesting nuance that we can start pushing as a society, and eventually everyone will understand this way of life, and then then it will nullify the emotions. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, I think that was a very good way of actually taking the audience through your train of thought, man, how what you're looking at as an investor. And I think a lot of people might be of the opinion or the assumption that in order to go these routes and actually get these experiences, you have to actually now be involved in these communities. And Chris, you've touched on communities now. Tell me what kind of communities are you working with? Are you driving? Are you building? And Like, what is the value that you're trying to create for those communities, and how do you actually want to make this community different to others that you've seen?
Well, interestingly enough, John created, John, you know, invited me to an idea of starting a community online somehow, just to talk about our experiences in investing in crypto and potentially even investing in other assets or maybe just a business in general. And so the Crypto Club community that we have on Telegram was sort of John's idea, and we try to figure out how to sort of start it. And so we thought about using Signal, the app Signal, and it just didn't work on Signal. It wasn't like that easy to sort of manage, and so Telegram was then the option that we used, and then we started off by just literally talking about the investments that we are currently making in terms of crypto, and people were responding, and then we sort of had people coming in, being invited. John's actually invited quite a lot of people that he knows, whether they colleagues or whether they friends, or whether just acquaintances. And we've been basically sharing ideas that we have. At first it was a lot of meme coins, because at that time it was meme season, and every coin was popping. I mean, even rugs were popping. You could make money off rugs, and people were, and it was just a case of getting in and getting out before
Let's talk about that, Chris. Let's talk about that. Like, tell us about, why do you think these guys are doing these things? How much money do you think these people made? Like, let's go into that, because I think a lot of people don't understand the concept of these meme coins, because it was the same thing with the NFTs, where these random projects were popping up. I mean, like, John, we've spoken about this a few times. Maybe help lead the conversation towards how you would do that, and maybe Chris can also add to that.
Sure. Like the thing about the meme coins is that I think it's a very interesting, fun on-ramping process for people, because the idea of it being fun makes that edge of investing sort of um not as catastrophic, because normally the ordinary person, when they think of investment, they think of high risk. They think of, oh geez, potentially something's gonna fall, and the cops are gonna come after me, or some kind of litigation is gonna happen. So I think a lot of people just generally shy away from investing in anything. And so, the meme coins is like sort of a fun entry into crypto. And it's like, oh, well, what, I have a little bit of money, it's a fun way to just, it doesn't feel like you're investing. It feels like you kind of gambling. And that gamble can reap you quite high earnings. And so, it's like a casino. People will rather go to the casino and, spend like 300-400 rand, then take that 300-400 rand and buy gold or silver, for example. So I feel that the memes were great for people to sort of experience crypto for the first time, interestingly enough. And then at that time, memes were popping so hard that even if you bought a terrible meme, you would still be able to make money. And so what we started seeing in the community is people saying, hey, I just bought this. Hey, I just bought that. Oh, I'm making it 10x. I'm making this. And I'm personally, I was also buying this and that, and making mad gains, crazy gains, and Kishu Inu, and like Tiger King, for example. Tiger King, I bought Tiger King without a website. I didn't even know the website. I just literally saw the contract. I mean, at that time, meme coins were popping so hard that I couldn't keep up. And so what I would do is I would just go to Etherscan and sort of track all the transactions that were happening. And then I would see, oh, okay, this coin looks like the community is very low. Okay, the potential T King. So I was like, cool, we'll go buy it. And then next thing you know, Tiger King is just popping off. And then John's actually the one who told me, hey, I found the website. And he also bought Tiger King. And, it just it sort of blew up. And then I only found out later that there's actually a celebrity that is sort of being like the image behind Tiger King. I don't even think he knew at the time that he was the brand behind it. And I think he just kind of accepted it. And so memes can be dangerous on the other end because, for example, Keanu Inu was also very popular. I mean, it was like one of the, at that stage, one of the fastest growing communities. And so what happened is Keanu Reeves was like, nah, perhaps it wasn't Keanu Reeves. Perhaps it was like, we're not having this.
Was there a genuine relational attachment to that, or was this just a fictitious thing?
They came up. So this the developer, he called himself Snoop Dogg. He came up with this idea of having a pit bull and calling that pit bull Keanu Inu, and basing it off the Matrix at first, and then the community was like, okay, cool. This is really cool. So the community started making memes about this pit bull, fighting agents, and then it became about John Wick. It became about all of the Keanu's sort of, all of these.
What is the story?
Exactly. Exactly. The story is spiraling out of control. And some people thought, oh, Keanu's going to endorse us. So obviously people reached out to Keanu Reeves, the person, and, probably thought, yeah, man, we're going to strike a big deal. Keanu's going to put us on, the big broadcasting networks. He's going to talk to Hollywood. We are going to blow up. We're going to leave Dogecoin in the dust. Opposite thing happened, filed for litigation. So now that coin is at zero, and they're planning to release another one and airdrop everybody. Well, let's see how that happens. But so that's the risk, I guess, with the meme coins, is that it can really blow up in your face.
I love that, dude. That was a perfect explanation. Perfect. Jono,
there was actually something that came to mind speaking about hex and staking. With the new launch of is it ETH 2.0, right? Are they going to bring in the whole staking function, proof of stake? How do you think that's going to impact the whole idea? Because I think competition is something we did chat about, but can you explain a little bit more on how that can impact the hex or vice versa?
The proof of stake is actually not a new concept. The guy who actually, I don't know if he's particularly the inventor, but Dan Larimer, he created BitShares, and BitShares was the first crypto. It was the first blockchain that introduced delegated proof of stake. So it's just a little bit of a more advanced version of proof of stake. And, that's what Pulse X will be sort of running off of, because you can vote for validators. And so proof of stake is not necessarily new, but it is new for a big blockchain like Ethereum, because, Ethereum's always been running off proof of work mining. And so how it will impact hexicans or the hex community, it's an interesting question, because we know that hex is built off of Ethereum, and if proof of stake has generally, in most cases, proved to be superior to proof of work, I think that it will impact the hex community in a way where perhaps, I'm just saying perhaps because I don't know, the transactions on ETH will be cheaper, perhaps faster, more so faster. I don't know about the cheaper, but more so faster. I think that's really the extent of effect, because we know that eventually Hex will be supported on the Pulse chain network in any case. So I think that on the Ethereum network, it will be a case of perhaps transactions being faster, perhaps with the code, being locked in the Ethereum as an ERC20 token, perhaps it will be more secure. So I think those are the three factors that will sort of be impacted by Eth2 when it comes to proof of stake.
No, awesome. Thank you.
I think
That's what I think. I mean,
no, but I agree with you, because I think this whole hype, and you spoke about hype, and I think the whole thing about hype is a community actually engaging with one another and actually trying to potentially or indirectly create an opportunity that's not there per se. But I think with Ethereum now, and this is sports finance built on the Ethereum blockchain, and I think this is going to create a new way in which people are going to transact more effectively. And I think it's going to almost create a new way in which people actually perceive Ethereum, because I mean, you're looking now, Ethereum's starting to bubble up again. And I think these kind of conversations are helping drive that, because I've seen this in quite a few podcasts actually for now. But I think, Chris, one thing I also wanted to cover with you before we end off tonight is like, what is something what project are you really excited about, and what are you like focused on, and like, what do you think that the audience should be looking out for in the next few weeks or months?
I'm really excited about Hex more than ever, more than anything else. And look, it's a big turnaround for me, because for me, Bitcoin was my biggest bag. Because when I got into the space, I started mining Bitcoin. I was mining Bitcoin and various other cryptocurrencies using the computers at Wits. So, when everybody was sleeping, or when everybody
Wits is at a university.
Yeah, so it's interesting because we all studied at Wits, so we can sort of have an image of going to the labs and logging in and seeing everybody around. So what I would do is I would literally go and just log in the computer, start mining, jump to the next one, log in, start mining. And then throughout the day, I would try and put together like 100 computers, and they're all mining Bitcoin, mining Dogecoin, mining all these coins. And so I've never really been a maximalist. From the beginning, I've sort of been like all over the show. And so but now I'm like leaning very strongly into Hex, because first of all, Hex is like one of the highest achieving, if not the highest achieving asset in a short time period. The 10,000X is very serious in the space of 2 years. I mean, it's incredible that more people don't know about it. How can you not know that 10,000X was created in such a short period, but you can know about something like Dogecoin, which has done well too. But I mean, technology, the technological stance behind Dogecoin, doesn't come near the ability that Hex has. The ability to sort of lock up your coins for a certain time period, and then stay dedicated to that decision. And if you actually do not commit to that decision, being penalized, and then the community sort of benefiting from your fault, I think is a very it's a very fair system. And so Hex for me is like one of the most perfect cryptos to start off. And then, I mean, I do like Shiba Inu because I do think that Shiba Inu is good for crypto at large. Because, people, it's very easy to get excited about Shiba Inu. Dogs, I mean, geez, dogs, man, best friend, so it's such a good meme coin. But also, in particular, an ERC20 token, which means that the on-ramping process, people are jumping onto Ethereum generally, because they know about it. And then, from Ethereum, they're able to then purchase Shiba Inu. Whereas if you want to buy something like Dogecoin, you probably have to go through a particular exchange. And I really don't like exchanges. So Shiba Inu to me is also very important. But when it comes to that fun aspect and that emotional side, and then, I also believe in sort of stable coins, because stable coins help you, make profit. Like when you've made some profits, you want to keep your profits. You don't want to sort of put it in another crypto that could possibly go up or could possibly go down, So stable coins for me are important. I preferably like USDT, excuse me. UST is the one that, man, that one hurt me. But
let's talk about that, like how failed investments have actually impacted you, because I think a lot of people have also lost money with regards to other projects. I mean, Jono, when it comes to the kind of investments that you're doing, are you as risk averse, or what is your take on the way you go about investing?
Yeah, look, a lot of people kind of do the whole leverage investing kind of thing. So they take out big loans on their existing investments. That's not something. Well, there was a stage where I was implementing that kind of strategy. Then I started to learn more via Richard Hart, where he started to get me to understand that this is a long-term thing. So if you can earn passive income, or should I say passive tokens that can be translated into stable coins or fiat currency, I think it allows people to understand that if you can be patient, you can get to a point where you can be earning passively from these investments you put together a very long time ago. So for me, it's about understanding how much you are willing to put into the space on a monthly basis. And when there are opportunities to put in big lump sums, I do so. And it's usually a very intuitive approach. So a feeling when is this coin at its bottom right now, or as closely as possible, because that's a great opportunity. Because if it spikes, you can take some profit and hold, because everything is in a dip. It's going to go up, it's going to dip. Even during the holding process, you'll see your portfolio go up substantially, and if you just hold, you'll see it go down substantially. That's just the nature of this ecosystem. So if you can bear that, then fair. But if you are quite, if your acumen's good in the trading aspect, you can call the tops and pull out profit into stable coins. And then when it drops again, buy into it again. So yes, there's an approach, but this is very risky. So hence why most people say just hold. Buy when you can. Yeah, I think that's just my approach. So when I have some money, I buy when I can, but it needs to be an intuitive one for me. So yeah, Chris, we were basically just chatting about how we getting, what's the strategy behind the crypto going forward. And I don't know if there's any specific strategy that you have in terms of how you implement fiat into the space.
I like what you said. I agree with what you said. And the beautiful thing about crypto is that even if you buy the top, there's a new top coming.
Yeah.
As long as you buy, as long as you buy the right coin, of course. And so dollar cost averaging is something that I also like to do when I see an opportunity. But I also like the approach of just deciding that, you know what, I have some money, I'm just going to buy a lot of coins right now, and then sort of having an idea of when you want to sort of take profits on that particular purchase. So, if you have like 300 Rand, you can sort of buy today, but if you have 3,000 Rand, I'm just saying this rands because, we South Africans, but I know that for you, Mike, you in the States. So let's actually use dollars because, we actually generally buying all these cryptos in dollars, they're priced in dollars. So let's say you've got $30. Is $30 a lot of money in America?
No, no.
Not trade.
Okay,
Good.
obviously it's quite a touchy subject, I suppose, because $30 can be a lot for some people, right? But like in terms of investing and what utility or value you get for investing, $30 is very minimal. So I'd equate it to like 400 Rand if you are in South African. I mean, like, I suppose what is the intention of saying that? Like, are you trying to achieve like a minimal or like a middle ground kind of value?
Yeah, because the idea, like, if you have $30, you could sort of be like, okay, I'm gonna buy a little bit of crypto today. But if $300 is a lot of money in America, or maybe if it's not, then $3,000. Like one time you could have $3,000. So instead of saying, okay, of my $3,000, I'm gonna, take 1,000 and buy today and see how the market goes. And if it dips again, take maybe $500 and buy today. That could be a strategy that you could use. Or you could just save yourself time and just spend that $3,000 once. Because the thing about dollar cost averaging is that, yes, it seems like you're getting a good deal, but actually you're spending more time to try and get a good deal. So, for me, time is the most expensive commodity because it's the one that you can't get back. So, that's where having a lot of money and then just buying at one time actually becomes more effective than trying to make gains off dips. And, I think that most people are going to try to make money off gain or off dips. But I mean, that's why most people work for money. They spend the time working for money. Whereas less people actually have other people spend their time. So, you've got less employers in the world than you do have employees, because employees are more focused on leveraging their time to make money, whereas employers are leveraging other people's time and other people's efforts. And so I think that mentality spills into crypto, where you've got more people sort of dollar cost averaging than people saying, okay, you know what? Yeah, I have a lot of money. I don't care if it dips or doesn't dip. I'm not going to be looking at charts trying to find a dip, because you know what? I want to go and ski, or I want to do whatever I want to do with my time. So I think both strategies work. It just depends on your mindset. And incorporating both strategies, I think, is the superior thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's actually quite fascinating. I think that is fascinating the way you put it, because I think a lot of people, whether they invest in crypto, whether they invest in NFTs, whether they invest in anything, there's a cost associated to the time. And I think, like you were saying now, because people are investing in crypto, it's kind of newfangled. They tend to not actually understand that their time and their energy that they applied to the search is actually costing them more than they believe.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think, Jono,
exactly.
before we end off, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss with Chris again? So Chris, again, we will have you on again the show. It's not the last time. And I mean, I think it's been really great today. I appreciate your time. I mean, we have a few more minutes, Jono. Anything that you wanted Chris to cover with Chris before we end off? And obviously we'll have Chris on again.
Yeah, this was something that crossed my mind when you mentioned Dogecoin, and something I listened to. Well, there was much a debate, but not really. Conversation between Jordan Belfort and Richard Hart, with the whole centralization with exchanges, and now you mentioning Dogecoin being a crypto you can only find on exchanges, and Elon Musk being a big spokesperson for the crypto. Is this perhaps a conspiracy of trying to retain centralization at a global level via the governments? Because I'm pardon?
No, so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
because I'm
Say something.
because I'm hearing a lot of investors pushing Coinbase, Robinhood, those kind of exchanges as a means to an end, perhaps trying to elude the audience, or should I say the general public, to actually buy into exchanges more so than to find a decentralized route. What's your thoughts on that, Chris? Well, hold on, Mikey, you said you wanted to mention something. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think this is a very, very good conversation. And I think it's fascinating because this can not only be applied to this particular industry and this niche that we obviously are discussing, this can be applied to sports and how the media manipulates and actually can turn audiences in a direction in which they perhaps do not realize that they forcibly moved into. An example would be like the media really killing foreign players and not really killing the English players in the English Premier League. And that's not kind of created a narrative by virtue of media where they're deceiving society and making people believe something that's truly not actually, there's no facts to hold to that. So I think what you're saying is kind of can be applied to in the industry. But now what you are asking, Chris, and Chris, I think I'd love for you to get your opinion on that, is that you essentially saying is that these governments and the way that they're promoting these larger entities like the Coinbases, because now they can actually get more of a stronghold on that and have a lot more restrictions. And by doing that, they're still kind of allowing for the exchanges to happen, but in a more formalized and secure manner.
Yeah, it's a very good observation, because if you consider how much money exchanges are making, exchanges are the new banks. In fact, I think banks are envious of exchanges. Like, why didn't we have a department in this? Come on, somebody, why, I'm sure they're kicking each other saying, yeah, well, I did come up with the schematics and you guys just rejected it. So
it's like the Kodak stories.
Yes,
exactly. So I think that exchanges, it is seriously, like, if anybody should have been an exchange, it should have been banks. And so I think that these private organizations who took on that new empire or corporate empire, they are already in a league of their own. And so I think that the media...
Chris, think about it this way. The reason why the banks didn't do it is because people were creating these things to go against the banking system.
Yeah, sure, exactly. But I think that anybody who would be aware that this would come should have been the bankers. It's like, if I have a stronghold, or if I've created an organization, I should, and I'm doing really well, and it's a global organization, I should have the foresight to sort of see where I would be, where the shortcomings would be, like where would the enemies come in? Where would people be able to infiltrate and sort of take dominion? I should be the first one to see that before anybody else. I just think that even if you're not the first one, at least you should have a department that is aware and that keeps bringing feedback. Okay, look, here's an entry point for competition to just, supersede us. So I agree with you that what exchanges do is they do create a new sort of avenue that is different from banks. And then what decentralized exchanges do is create an avenue that is against these exchanges. And, of course, I favor decentralized exchanges, and you're not really going to get much media push on decentralized exchanges because of the very fact that they're decentralized. The media doesn't profit from decentralized exchanges because a decentralized exchange owes nothing to the media for promoting them. There is no contractual agreement that if you push us on TV, we will give you a certain amount of shares in our fees. Like decentralized exchanges wouldn't care. They'd be like, okay, well, you can do that and we'll benefit. But we're already creating business with or without your media push. But the incentive for centralized exchanges to have that is a very powerful relationship for the media to have that relationship. And so, yes, I think that we always going to see this popular narrative, because, when I first got into crypto, it was actually the centralized exchanges that I was trying to run away from because the fees were so high. So when I was mining Bitcoin, I'd throw it onto, I try and trade other coins because, obviously altcoins outperform Bitcoin. So I was trying to make money off my Bitcoin. So okay, I'm mining this Bitcoin. Let me throw it onto this exchange so that I can sort of buy another crypto and it can go up, and then I can buy more Bitcoin. Oh, what a mistake I made. Because when I put my Bitcoin on the exchange, just from trying to make a trade, they charged me so much that it was almost more than the amount that I put on the exchange. And then I said, okay, well, you know what? I just want my Bitcoin back. Oh, well, that was even more. The fees was more than my Bitcoin. And, I gave them away. I gave away my profits. I gave away my money. I gave away my mining earnings. And so, the fees are ridiculous. And Robinhood and Coinbase, they promote. You won't find them promoting they'll promote the emotional cryptos, that we were talking about, because they know that most of the audience or most of investors in crypto are emotional and, therefore more susceptible to fees and more susceptible to making losses. And that's how exchanges win. Exchanges win off you profiting and they win off you losing. And so, but more people lose than win. So they need more losers. And so, of course, the media is going to be like, okay, how do we make this relationship strong so that, we can create with the decentralized exchanges. When I first discovered BitShares, it was actually the decentralized exchange that helped me pay for my final year at Wits. Because what happened is there was an airdrop into my BitShares account. And, there was no marketing for that. That was actually the marketing for the coin. So what I like about decentralized exchanges is that they will market a product, and that product is the getting pushed rather than just marketing the hope for gains. So, I literally got smart cash airdropped into my wallet, and it was so much smart cash that it just blew my mind. But, obviously then my impression of smart cash is, amazing. And so I go and I spread the word through word of mouth, which is the most, effective form of marketing, even in the 21st century with social media and everything that we have. Word of mouth has proved to be dominant. And so I think that what these exchanges want with the media is they want that word of mouth. So that's why it's so strong with Coinbase and Robinhood that you were talking about, John. Well, so, yeah, could be a government. It could be a government.
I'm just saying that was amazing. That was fantastic. I think that's a perfect way to end off with. We've come to the end. Chris, thank you so much for your time. It's been great to connect with you again. Any closing remarks that you would like to share with the audience?
Thank you, Savidis. Thank you, John, for having me on the show. I want to say that the work that you guys are doing is really awesome because, we are literally on 3 different continents. And, this is not typical of South Africans to sort of initiate this kind of an agenda. So I really appreciate that from you guys. I've always felt like the dumbest person in the room. And, that's what I love. I love to be the person who sort of can learn. And I still remember the moment I sat down with you, John, and Parasani, and I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. I mean, I'm sitting down here with chemical engineer graduates, MBA graduate. And so it's always an honor to be in your guys' presence. And to the audience, you guys should really subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, you should really just stay tuned. I've been watching Sports Finder, and you definitely want to share this with your friends. Get them educated in NFTs, because NFTs are here to stay. And, you know, these are the guys that you want to hear from, because these guys are literally building this from the ground up. I mean, getting connected. I saw your video with Gary V, Mike. That was amazing, bro. You blew my mind. I couldn't believe you were standing next to Gary V. But you stood next to him with confidence. You know what I'm saying? You weren't like, you know, mouse. And you were there like a man. Yeah,
I didn't thought about that, man.
yeah. So it was
I appreciate that, dude. It's great, and I mean, it's so awesome to hear. I mean, because the kind of projects that you're involved in, and the stuff that you spoke about now, I can tell you right now, there's not many podcasts that will be delving into it in the way you've done. And I think it was quite genuine and authentic. So, I mean, I'd love to have you on again. And, Jono, any closing remarks, as we always do, man?
Yeah. Well, look, I want to firstly say thanks, Chris, for coming through. It was amazing, dude. And then secondly, there's something that crossed my mind from Seth Godin based on our chat, and it was no one gives you initiative. You just have to take it. So yeah, much love.
Always bring in the wisdom, Everyone that's listening, thank you so much. We keep growing our viewers and our subscribers week on week. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And yeah, look out for the next episode next week. Take care.
Much love.